This is the Education Business Podcast for consultants and business owners providing services in schools. I'm Claire Riley, and I'll be sharing how to start, grow and scale your education business. Hi everyone, thank you for joining me on the Education Business Podcast. Today I want to talk about building your business for the long term, really. And I am going to give you some questions to think about later on in the episode, but let's just lay a foundation first. So I've been having a lot of conversations with you, the community, and one of the themes that's been coming up is about building your business for the long term. And obviously that's something that you will see that I have done and I'm still doing at Classroom Secrets. And I'm now applying that principle to Education Business Club as well. How is this business going to serve me in the long term? And it means thinking about what's going to happen in the future. And sometimes we really don't want to think about what's going to happen in the future because it makes us feel uncomfortable. Sometimes we don't know what we want yet, and we are not willing to give the time to think about it or to accept that we don't know yet, and we just need to follow the steps to figure that out. Sometimes we have this worry, which is internal really, that if we say we want something, then we have to commit to it. And what happens if we change our minds? Or certainly something with me sometimes is I have this fear that if I put it out there, people are then going to hold me accountable. And what if I change my mind then? So there's that as well, which is similar. And often we have this conflict with ourselves around money as well, especially if we're thinking financially, in financial terms, instead of other elements of how we want to build this business. But the crucial thing here is that you're only going to build a business for the long term intentionally if you think about it intentionally. Some of the questions that we're going to go through, and this episode is all about just giving you those questions and you taking some time to ponder those questions, maybe write some notes. It isn't a case of, I'll listen to this episode and then in 10 minutes I'm going to know how I'm building my business for the long term. It's not really like that. It's more that we have to keep this in mind and be setting better intentions for how we want to build our businesses in the future. So what questions should you ask yourself as you think about the future of your business? And you could be in a situation where you've just started your business, and that can be really difficult because if we've not yet proven success, we don't want to write our name to something. It's very difficult to start a company and say, yes, in 3 years' time, I'm going to have a 7-figure turnover because you haven't proved yet that it's even possible. So I do understand that. It's more about, well, if you were to dream, what would you have? So if we were to fast forward then to 2034, yeah, that's the right year, 10 years from now, what will your business look like then? And what will your life be like? Will your business look the same as it does now? Will it be running, but you're not running it? What will be your role in the business? What about your life? How involved will you be? How many hours will you work on your business every week? Will you even have a business? Will you have retired by that point? And how will you make sure you've got the finances in your retirement that you really want? And when you're thinking of the answer to this question, try not to be too realistic. Try and think big. Try and think about what it could be. So once you've got the answer for this question, you can move on to the next question. And it's important that you answer the first question first, because if you were to turn around to me and say, well, right now I've got a business and it does 150,000 turnover, and in 3 years' time, I want to get to 1 million. I'd say, okay, great, totally possible, really possible. We did that in 12 months. But then you have to look and go, okay, what's my business model? Is this still viable? Is this going to help me achieve what I need to achieve? And the reason why I bring this up is in education, there are different models that we can follow, aren't there? One of the models is very much about people. So we can have a service like CPD that we deliver in schools, or maybe we are offering a service, maybe we've got EWOs in our company, or we're going to do in-person CPD days, or we're consulting. That is a model that is possible to grow, but it does require getting people in to then be able to sell their services. On the flip side, you can also have a digital version of that where you're selling up front and then you can get the resource in later, or you're investing in the resource and then you're selling forever. And one of the reasons why I chose Classroom Secrets as a business was because I could see the potential of the semi-passive scalability of it. I knew that it didn't matter how many people I had. If I had the right products, I could sell as many as I wanted. I would never be restricted to how much I was able to sell. And that's why it was really funny to me when somebody said, oh, keep yourself under the VAT threshold. That was in the early days. And it was somebody who didn't know about business. But I was like, it's not that kind of business. I can't control the scalability in some ways. I can't necessarily stop people from buying, and I don't want to. And I'm not going to. I want to build something where it's possible for many, many people to buy the same thing all at once. So re-look at that. If you've been running your business for 5 years and you haven't moved forward, do you need to re-look at areas where you need to add in a different part of the business model? I'm not saying change it. I don't believe in changing something that's working, but you can add things in and you can think about how you can bring in more into the business by doing things differently. So the third question to ask yourself is, are you still in it for the long haul? When you started out, you might have said, I'm never going to sell my business. I'm never going to stop my business. I love it so much. Do you still feel that way? Is there a way to get that feeling back by doing different things in your business? Can you imagine yourself being in the business in 10 years' time? Because we're thinking about, where will you be in 10 years? What will you have done? And the fourth question, and many people find this so triggering, what's your exit plan? What is your exit plan from the business? Are you thinking that you're just going to wind the business up? Are you thinking that you're going to sell the business? What is that exit plan? And I know it's uncomfortable to think about because I'm basically saying, when are you going to give your baby up? When are you going to give your baby up? We just don't want to think ahead very often. And we make up reasons why that is a better idea. And it can be things like, well, I don't want to have a team ever. And I'm not in it for the money. And I'm just here to help people. And I'm a teacher at heart. And we say all these things to ourselves. But in 10 years' time, what value will we have actually created if we keep giving ourselves those excuses? Will we have any value in our company? Because I can tell you, I've learned a lot about acquisitions in the last 4 years. And one of the funny things that most people who buy businesses will tell you is that everyone thinks they can sell the business tomorrow for £1 million. And nobody realizes what you actually have to be able to do that. So thinking about your business in 10 years, will there be any value in it? How do you even do that? What will make your business valuable? Do you actually know what the answer is? If you're thinking about winding your business up in 10 years or when you retire, then there is no value because you're not transferring that value to anyone. You're dwindling that value. If you're going to sell it, then you are transferring the value and you can get the value out. But will you get the value that you believe that you've put into it? Are the little tweaks that maybe you need to make along the way? Because if selling at some point is not your plan and you're going to wind it up, then surely you need to be getting the value out of your business now. And if your business isn't giving you that value now, then at what point will it give you the value exchange for all the hard work that you've put in that you haven't got out through salary or dividends? And if you had to put a number on the amount that you feel you deserve for the work that you've put in, what are you hoping for? What is that? So I've thrown a lot at you there, and I know that many people who are listening to this episode will maybe not have ever considered this before. They won't have thought about what it means to build something that becomes an actual asset, something that is separate from you. And you might be a solopreneur who, at this point, has not even thought about whether you're going to build a company that then you can sell in the future. And that's absolutely fine. My goal here is to get you thinking about what does happen in the future. Because if we don't think about it, nothing will change. Nothing will become a thing. It's so easy for us to be in business and do the next thing, get the next sale, get the next client. And then 5 years have gone by and we think, oh, well, I've made some money, but what else have I achieved? And so sometimes we just need somebody who's thinking differently to us to encourage us to think differently as well. What does happen to your business over the next 10 years? What does happen when you decide you don't want to work anymore? But I just wanted to put it out there and get you mulling it over. So I hope that was helpful and it gets you thinking. I'm more than happy to help you. I've just launched some one-to-one business coaching sessions. They're just ad hoc. It was something that the community mentioned that they would like. So I'm just doing a few and we'll see how it goes. So if you've ever wanted to have mentoring with me and maybe you don't have the time commitment or the investment available to you, then maybe you just want to book one session. Just book a power hour with me. We can even consider some of the things that we've talked about today. We'll come up with a plan like where are you going for the next however long you want it to be in your business. What are the things that I can see that you can't see? Set you up with a really great plan to get executing. And then if you wanted to, you could book another session when you finish those so that we can do that again. If you do want to book one of those one-to-one sessions, I would absolutely love to work with you. And so I've put the link to that in the show notes of this episode. Hopefully I'll be hearing from you in the week on my one-to-one booking link. But I want you to have a great week. Really think about those questions. Go for a walk. Talk to your partner about them. Talk to your family members about them. Talk to your friends about them. You don't have to have answers straight away. You just have to start thinking about these things if you're not already. And with that, I'm going to see you next week. Thank you for listening to the Education Business Podcast. To get more information to grow your business, sign up at educationbusinessclub.co.uk.